Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Today I'm going to be making a cucumber puree cold process soap video. If you like this type of video, want others like it, go ahead and check out my channel for more videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you learned something today. So the first step, I'm going to go ahead and cut up the cucumber, and I'm kind of keeping tabs of it on the scale so that way I know how much I've added. You do not have to take the skin off the cucumber. This is all a personal preference. I like to keep it on because it is a nice aesthetic. It leaves little green speckles in your soap. Plus, it also acts as a light exfoliant. Now, what I want to say, if you're measuring out your water, or the first step is what I always do, is start with the water on a recipe like this. For the puree, you don't want to use more than a quarter of the weight for the water. More than a quarter of the weight of the fresh ingredient. So if you're using any type of puree, and in this example we're doing cucumbers, you don't want it to be more than a quarter of the total water solution. So I hope that makes sense. The total water solution was just 12 ounces. And once I went ahead and measured out the cucumber, then I just added the water to the cucumbers, and then I went ahead and used my stick blender to mix it up. I think I mixed this cucumber in the puree, whatever, for about a minute. You can also throw it in a blender. It might be a little bit quicker if that works for you, whatever you have on hand. But I went ahead and made sure it was mixed up, and you kind of got to watch it because some of the cucumbers do kind of get stuck on a stick blender if you're going that route. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys all of the oils that we're using for this recipe as well. So I will include all the measurements of that. So if you just stick with me, and we'll have some of that in just a second. I do want to add, because I'm not sure if I already said this, but if you are leaving the skin on the cucumber and you're worried about mold, you do not have to worry about it, because this is going through the sponification process, and the lye helps with that. I've made this cucumber soap before, and I've let it sit for over a year without any mold or any issues like that. So here are the oil measurements. Today we are using olive oil, coconut oil, palm oil, and sweet almond oil. Sorry guys, I'm just using old video footage that I had from measuring out oils and stuff, because sometimes I forget to turn my camera on when I'm actually measuring the oils. But the measurements are in here, and then once we're done with this, I went ahead and put them on the double boiler and kind of just measured or melted all my oils down before we started adding the lye. So you would just do that part as normal and go from there. While I was waiting for my oils to melt down, I go ahead and start getting my lye ready. We are measuring out the lye in a separate container, and then we are going to add it to the puree so we can get our lye water solution going. So as you'll notice, the puree, when it was sitting, it kind of separated a little bit. So before I started adding the lye to the puree mixture that we made, I made sure to go ahead and start giving the puree a couple extra pulses, because I wanted to make sure everything was fully incorporated and mixed really well. So you can kind of just keep an eye on that, and go with what you think looks nice. Like I said, wanted to make sure everything was kind of fully incorporated, and then I started adding my lye crystals about 1 to 2 spoons at a time. Something that I do want to add is you probably want to keep the lye water under about 115 degrees if you can. I kind of struggled with it a little bit, but you will start to notice the cucumber water will start to turn brown if you get too high of temps, and that means that you're scorching the ingredients. So I just like to mix my lye really slow, take some time, do other things around the house while the lye is being incorporated. So as you can see, I'm just getting out my heat gun if you're new to soap making and you haven't done it before, and I'm just kind of mixing it in, and you can see the temperature start to go up as I'm mixing it. It's not a huge deal if it does get too hot on something like the cucumber puree, but it's going to take away from like your overall soap, and nobody wants soap where the ingredients have been like scorched. It's just not as good. So for the fragrance oil on this recipe, I am using the Cucumber Melon fragrance oil from Brambleberry. It is one of my best sellers. I love it. Whenever I use this, friends and family always rave about it. They say it's amazing. It holds up really well in cold process soap. For this particular recipe, I used about 2.75 ounces, I think the scale said 2.6 ounces of the fragrance oil, and that was perfect amount for this recipe. Feel free to use a different one if you want. I just really like Brambleberry's fragrance oils. They seem to hold up really good in cold process soap. And for the colors on this, I used High Society, and I kind of mixed this in with some French green clay because I wanted the soap to have that like cucumber feel and be nice and green. The reason I'm using the French green clay is because I only had a little bit left and I didn't think it was going to make the soap quite as green as I wanted it to. Plus, I love adding clays into my soap. They're nice like for like facial bars if you want to use on the face, and the French green clay helps like open your pores and clean out all the dirt and grime. Normally, I don't mix like clays and micas together, but like I said, I didn't have enough colorant. And when you are doing clays, you always want to add like a little bit of water to your clay and mix it in and get it kind of like a paste or slurry, because it is going to draw water. Like the clay will actually draw water from your soap if you don't do that. So you can see I kind of did that there. You don't have to use clays if you don't want to, or mica. I mean, you can just leave this colored naturally. The bar of soap though at the end will be more of a white color bar. And if you're leaving like the little chunks of skin, you'll just have green flecks throughout your soap. Wanted to show like a close-up shot of like that kind of paste, and I'm kind of trying to get the color, the correct color that I want, but the paste at about this consistency is what you want for when you're adding clays. You want to make sure that it is a nice pasty consistency. You don't want it soupy or watery. If it's turning to soup or water, it's because you've added way too much water. And you can kind of just pour some of that off and then add more clay if you want. It does get kind of messy though if you're playing that game, but this is the color that I thought looked appropriate. So now I started adding my lye and my oils all together, and I started mixing, and I kind of wanted to show you guys. You can see the little flecks in the soap before I add the color, and that is just the cucumber skin. And like I said, I just think it like adds a nice touch to the end. Still wasn't quite green enough, so I added some more mica. And you're going to see at the end when I cut this bar how it looks, and you'll be able to see the flakes and everything. So you just want to make sure though that you get this stirred to a light trace. If you're not familiar with that, you just want it like a cake batter consistency, and making sure that everything is fully incorporated. I went ahead and added this to the mold. I wanted to try to get it to gel. If you mix this a little bit longer, the way I designed this recipe is that you can add all of this and it will go a little bit overflowing the top, but I have it measured just perfectly, so it comes right to the top edge. I had a tiny bit left, as you can see in there, that I put in a different mold as a test sample bar. Okay guys, we are here. It has been, I want to say, about 3 days since I poured this soap. I had to keep it in the mold a really long time because that silicone liner, I feel like sometimes when I make soap it keeps everything soft. This is still really soft, so I may only cut like a couple bars, but you can kind of see the little speckles in here. This is not molding, okay? This is just how it looks when you keep the cucumber, what do you call it? The skin left on. Nothing is wrong with it. You still can use it. The soap won't mold, anything like that. But I may just only cut like a bar or two because I don't know how soft this is gonna be. So I just wanted you guys to see how it turned out. Oh, it's not bad. Not as bad as I thought. Still a little tacky. Okay, let's see. You guys can see the inside, see the little green speckles, that is the skin, and as it oxidizes, it will turn like a little bit brown, but like I said, it won't mold. I've made this soap before, this recipe. I've had the soap out for over a year and we didn't see mold. So it is a good recipe to use. I also had like a little bit left over. I popped that hard out of the mold, but it was a little bit tacky still, so you guys can see. And I love this cucumber fragrance oil from Brambleberry. I talked about it a little bit, but it literally is one of my favorite fragrances. It's always a bestseller. I feel like it survives the curing process really well. So if you're looking for something that's like maybe a little bit more potent, this is definitely a good fragrance oil for that. I'm gonna make these chunky. I want some nice meaty bars. I love meat. What? I don't know where that came from. Sorry, guys. But if you guys enjoyed this video or want to see other videos with like purees, I love making soap with purees or other added ingredients. Go ahead and let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'm thinking about doing one with maybe like avocado puree. I know I have another one somewhere on my channel with mango puree, so if you're interested in that, I don't know, I really like adding stuff like that. I don't know what you guys are into. Like, what's your favorite additive? What do you like to add to your soaps? Just go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'm curious to see. And if you have something, maybe I'll try something new. I've always been kind of interested in like tomato, adding tomato to soap. I've heard that comes out really well. One time, this is kind of a funny story, but not really. I made soap with pumpkin in it. So it came out awesome. Everything was great until I added the fragrance oil, because this is when I first started making soap. Like that dang fragrance oil, guys, like it was a spicy one, I guess. It had like a spicy fragrance to it. Oh my gosh, the whole soap like seized up on me. It got super hot. Like I thought the soap was gonna explode. I didn't even know this was a thing. Like apparently if you add fragrance oil and it gets too hot, like it can react with the soap and cause it to heat up really like hot. And like you'll see like the flash point on the soap, and it literally can start a fire. I don't think it's super likely. I've never had that happen. I don't know if anyone down in the comments has ever had that happen. Share your story, because I'd love to hear it. But I literally thought the soap was going to catch on fire because I couldn't even touch the container I had it in. It was so hot. But it wasn't because of the additives. It was, well, I mean, fragrance oil is an additive. It was because of the fragrance oil I used. It said it was good for cold processed soap, but I needed to soap at like a much lower temperature and whatnot. I don't know why I'm rambling on with the story. I feel like I don't tell you guys enough of like soap failures, and sometimes I just want to share them, I guess. But if you ever had that happen, or like I said, if you want to leave a comment about puree soaps, don't forget to do that. Thank you guys for watching.